In this video, we're going to cover 6 more types of voting methods. I would imagine most years this is going to be more than 1 day of lecture, probably 2 or 3 days of lecture. So feel free to pause this video and jump around so that it matches what we did in class on any given day. But in this video, we're going to go through all of them so that you have them all in one place. So Condorcet's winner criterion. What this vocabulary word means is that if for every preference schedule that has a Condorcet winner, the same candidate wins under the voting system, then that system meets the CWC. CWC is short for Condorcet's winner criterion. And really what that means is, if you go back to the last video with Condorcet's method, if we take one of these 6 new methods that I'm about to teach you, and Condorcet, and using Condorcet's method would produce the exact same winner, then we say it meets the CWC. If I use one of these 6 new methods or a different, and then if I do Condorcet's method, a different winner emerges, then we say it does not meet the CWC. So our first method here is called plurality voting. Now, when you hear the word plurality, you should automatically be thinking first place. Only the first place votes are going to count. So in this preference schedule right here, I have my 5 voters, and I'm only looking at the first place votes. And what I see is that Aragorn wins with 2 votes. So that's all plurality voting is. I'm only looking at first place votes. I don't look at anything else. Is the same person the Condorcet winner? So going back to Condorcet's method, which again was our previous video, we'll start with Aragorn versus Boromir. And what we should notice is that Boromir wins 3-2. Again, if you need a refresher on Condorcet's method, please go back to the last video. Now I'll do Boromir versus Frodo. And we'll see that Frodo wins 3-2. So now I'll do Frodo versus Aragorn, because we remember he has to go back and beat everyone. And I see here that Frodo ends up winning 3-2. So Frodo's beaten Boromir. He's beaten Aragorn. All he has left is against Legolas. And I see that Frodo wins again 3-2. So Frodo wins because he's beaten everybody head to head. So what do we notice here? If I use the plurality voting method, Aragorn wins. If I use the Condorcet method, Frodo wins. So we get 2 different winners depending on how we decide to count the votes. So what we say is this does not meet the CWC. Which is what we started the video with, the Condorcet's winner by criterion. It doesn't meet the CWC because by using Condorcet's method and by using a different method, we got different winners. Different winners mean does not meet the CWC. If it would have been the same winner, we would say, in this case, we met the CWC. Now, There is one problem with plurality voting, and it's that a system is the name of the problem is manipulability. If we said to be manipulated, if you've heard that word before, that means like somebody is making you do something you don't really want to do. They're urging you to do something different from what you feel is your best interest. So this suffers from manipulability. A system is manipulable if there are cases to where it's to the voter's advantage to submit a disingenuous ballot. Now, here's an example of that. Think about a presidential election. We have our major parties in America. We have the Republican Party, the Democrat Party. But those aren't the only two parties. We have the Libertarian Party, we have the Green Party. There's a bunch of them. Let's say we are a member of the Green Party. We're not a Republican or Democrat. Come election season, it may not be in my best interest to vote for my favorite candidate of the Green Party. Because what's going to happen if I vote for the Green Party? I know realistically my vote's not going to count because the Green Party candidate we know is not going to win. So it's best for me to pick Republican or Democrat, even though that's not really what I want. So as a voter, it's in my best interest to vote against what I want, which is the Green Party, and vote for Republican or Democrat because those actually have a chance of winning, and that means my vote will count. So that's an example. Not voting third party. Because he or she is not likely to win. So that is the plurality method. Just wrapping it up, it's first place votes. It sometimes meets CWC, doesn't always meet CWC, but it does suffer from manipulability. Voting method number 2 of this video is the rank method. This assigns points based off how the candidate was ranked on each preference ballot. Note, points do not have to decrease every time, and we'll see an example of that in a minute. So what we do is we add up the points, most points wins. So what we do is we look at the total goals rather than the individual competitions. So how can we use this? So I think the easiest way to think about this is think about a track meet. If we go to a track meet, first place gets however many points, second place gets a little less, third place gets a little less, and then at the end of the meet, we total everyone's points. Teams with the highest score wins. So that's really what it is. Some other uses, NCAA rankings for sports fans, and we're actually going to see an example of that in a minute. So determine the winner here. If we give 10 points for first place, 5 points for second place, and no place. So if I have Martha, Andrew, and Hank, Martha here, the first voter, is going to give her 10 points. Going to give Andrew 5 and Hank 0. The second voter is going to give Andrew 10, Martha 5, and Hank 0. Voter 3 is going to give Andrew 10, Hank 5, Martha 0. And voter number 4 here is going to give Hank 10, Martha 5, and Andrew 0. Total them up. Highest score wins. So Andrew wins. And that's what the rank method is. Assign points, most points wins. Here's a real life example of something that uses the rank method, as we talked about, NCAA polls. For those of you who aren't sports fans, there are 893 college football teams as of 2022. Not everyone is going to have time to play everybody. They only have a 12-game season. So the way we do it is we rank the top 25. We have 61 voters in this poll. And what happens is every week, those 61 people give a list in order of who they feel are the top 25 teams. And the way we handle that is when a voter submits a ballot, whoever they ranked as number 1 gets 25 points. Whoever they ranked as number 4 gets, as number 2 gets 24 points. Whoever they ranked as number 3 gets 23 points. Whoever they ranked as 4 gets 22 points, so on and so forth. And whoever gets 25th place gets 1 point. So that's what this paragraph up here is saying. A team receives 25 points for a first place vote, 24 for a second place vote, so on and so forth. And again, there are 61 writers. So what happens is we take all the ballots, we add up all the points, and then what happens is the newspapers release the top 25 based on total numbers. So in order for the system to be considered a rank method, several things must happen. First, the candidates must include all college football teams. So in consideration are all 893 college football teams. Realistically, are all of them going to get ranked? No, just 25 of them are. But all of them have to be considered. Second, each voter must rank all the teams. So yeah, we tell them only turn in the top 25. In reality, they're supposed to rank 1 through 893. The only difference is from 26 to 893, they all get 0 points. So the order doesn't really matter because it's all 0 points. Third, the point assignments must continue after what is mentioned above, where this is what I was just saying. 0 points awarded for 26th place, 0 points for 27th. Why is the third point significant? Because the decreasing point values stop at 26th place. Because if first place gets 25 points and we drop 1 for every spot, then starting at 26th place is 0, 27th place is 0, 28th place is 0. So yes, while we're ranking number 26 to 893, the order doesn't really matter because either way, 0 points. So let's use some algebra skills here. Where must Alabama appear on the preference ballots to create this list? Well, see these numbers here in parentheses? That's how many first place votes they got. So we know Alabama got 60 first place votes. We know that a first place vote is worth 25 points. So 60 votes times 25 points each. That comes out to 1,500. And we know their total is 1524. And how do I know that? Because that's what that says. So we know 1,524 points. So how can I get 24 more points? Well, 24 points. We have 1 vote left. So I know that's 1 second place vote. So that's 1 vote worth 24 points. So we know Alabama got 61st place votes and 1 second place votes. Now, where could Michigan have appeared on the ballot? This one's much, much harder. So Michigan, we know, totals up to 1,432 points. And the only thing we really know is that they got 1 first place vote. So 1 first place vote. So that's 1 times 25. That's 25 of their points. And we know they have to add up to 432. So here's how I did it. And each of us could have done this a little bit differently. I gave them 58 second place votes. So that's 24 votes. Sorry, 58 votes with 24 points, which equals 1,392. Then I gave them 1 11th place vote. Now think about an 11th place vote. How many points is that worth? Well, if 1 is worth 25, then 24, 23, 22, 21, 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15. So 11th place is worth 15 points. So that's 1 vote worth 15 points. And then we said there's 61 voters. So far, that's 60 votes, and this already adds up to 1,432. So maybe there's 1 voter not ranked. Maybe 1 person put them not anywhere on the ballot, so that's 0 points. They're in that 26 to 893 range. So that does add up to 1,432 with our 61 voters. So that's how we do the rank method. So again, that was more of a difficult example. Make sure you know this example here, where we assign points first, second, third. Now let's look at the next method. This one's called the board account. And this is very, very similar to the rank method. So we're actually, I'll fill in those blanks in a second. I think it'd be easier for me to show you an example first. Here's how the board account works. We start with last place. Last place gets 0 points. 1 step up gets 1 point. 1 step up gets 2 points. And 1 step up gets another point. So if we start with 0 points for last place, and every place we work up 1 point. So in this case, we work up to first place with 3 points. If there had been 10 candidates, we would have 9 points for first place. So what we should see is, if I had, let's say, 15 candidates, I rank them 1 to 15. Last place gets 0, 14th place gets 1, 13th place gets 2, and so on and so forth. And we should notice that first place gets 14 points. So we're going to use N for the number of candidates. So the number of points first place gets is going to be N minus 1. So like I said, if we have 15 candidates, first place gets 14 points. Second place gets N minus 2. Because if we have 15 candidates, second place gets 13 points. And we go all the way down to last place, which is always going to be 0. The total score is going to be called the Borda score. So I want to find the Borda score of each candidate. So I have candidates A, B, C, D. So candidate A, voter 1 gave him 3 points. Voter 2 gave him 2 points. Voter 3 gave him 2 points. Voter 4 gave him 1 point. Voter 5 gave him 0 points. That adds up to 8. Candidate B, voter 1 gave him 2 points. Candidate B, voter 1 gave him 2 points. Voter 2 gave him nothing. Voter 3 gave him a first place vote. That's 3 points. And voters 4 and 5, both second place, worth 2 points. That adds up to 9. Candidate C, last place, third place, third place, first place, third place. That adds up to 6. And candidate D got a third place vote from voter 1. Voter 2 gave him a first place vote. That's 3 points. 3 and 4 both ranked him last, which is worth 0 points. And voter 5 gave him a first place vote, which is worth 3 points. And that all adds up to 7. Highest score is B. So B wins using this Borda count method. There is a simple way to do this visually. And that's just count the boxes below that candidate in every column. So what do I mean by that? If I'm looking at candidate A, that's where candidate A is. You just count the boxes below A. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's what it ended up to. If I looked at candidate, which is here. Oh, sorry, that one should say B. My apologies for not having that there the whole time. If I count up the boxes below, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's the Borda. And so on and so forth. We can do that for everybody. Just be careful instead of it saying voter 1, voter 2, voter 3, voter 4, voter 5. If column 1 was 6 votes, column 2 is 5 votes, column 3 is 4 votes, we have to multiply by the number of votes in each column. That's what that second statement says. Remember, if column represents multiple voters, you have to make adjustments. Okay, unfortunately, Borda count has an important flaw. It fails to uphold the property called the independence of irrelevant alternatives. Here's what that means. Let's look at example 5 here and see if we can't find the winner. I'll have my score for A, my score for B, and my score for C. Voter A, if I count the boxes below, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and those are at the bottom. Voter B, below B is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And voter C, nothing below, nothing below, nothing below, nothing below, 1, 2, 3, 4. So the winner is obviously A. Now, if I'm thinking about A as the winner, I want to focus in here on voter 4 and 5. How many points did A get from voter 4, and how many points did they get from voter 5? A didn't get any votes from 4 and 5, or any points, I should say, from 4 and 5. So that's 6. If I were to start messing things around with voter 4 and voter 5, A is not going to change. A is going to stay at 6. Those would be considered irrelevant votes because our winner didn't get any help from them. However, let's take a look at the exact same example. The only thing I'm going to do is I'm going to flip-flop B and C. And let's get everyone's Borda score. If I look at A, again, nothing changed, right? My winner still has 6. We didn't move them around at all. But B, on the other hand, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 now. And C has nothing, 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 1, 2. So when I think of this problem, originally, A was my winner. But if I took 2 votes that seemingly didn't matter and change up the order, it actually changed the winner. So that's a big problem with the Borda count, because I could take votes that don't matter. And if I mess with votes that don't matter without changing the part that doesn't matter, the part that didn't matter was that A got 0 points. So I changed a part that allegedly didn't matter, and it did end up affecting the winner. So we could say, in other words, it's independent. As always, it's just for the smartboard. In other words, it's independent. So that's how we do the Borda count. It's also the problem with the Borda count, in that irrelevant votes that voted our winner with 0 points could end up messing our problem up. So to put a wrap on that, the fact that B is now the winner instead of A, who is now a loser, means that it's not independent of where C is. Either way, C is in last place. But C matters because where we put them, even though they came in last place overall, it affected the winner. So C is not independent. The loser is not independent of C. The loser relies on who wins and loses relies on C, even though even though C was never going to win. Therefore, irrelevant votes make a difference, and the ILA is not met. Again, ILA was this vocabulary word, independence of irrelevant alternatives. So I took irrelevant votes and they ended up mattering. Okay. Next voting method. As I said, we're going through 6 in this video. This is number 3. Before we get to it, we have one quick vocabulary word. Is a listing of the candidates. Like your list of choices, it's not the same as a preference list. So this voting method is called sequential pairwise voting. And this is going to be really, really similar to Kronderset's method. Not exactly the same, but a lot of similarities. Using the agenda, the first 2 candidates will face off. So this is head-to-head style. We pick two candidates and we put them head-to-head. The winner faces the next candidate. So in sequential pairwise voting, I have to give you the agenda. The agenda is the order that we put these guys head-to-head. So in this case, I'm giving you an agenda of A, B, C, D. In that order, we cannot mess with the order of the agenda. So we start with the first two in the agenda, A versus B. So like Kronderset's method, we just see who wins each individual voter. So voter 1 goes to A, voter 2 goes to B, voter 3 goes to A. My winner is A. Now, instead of putting B off to the side, now B is just totally out. We don't check them against anything else. So B is out. Now I put my winner A versus the next person on the agenda, whoever it is. I don't mess with the order. So A versus C. What I see is C beats A 3-0, which means C is my winner. And now A is out. Next up, our next contender is D. So I'll do C versus D. And I'll see that D wins 2-1. My apologies. D wins 2-1. And therefore, we have our winner of D. How is this different from Kronderset's winner? In Kronderset's method, we would have checked D versus A. And D versus B. Because remember, in Kronderset's method, one candidate has to beat every other candidate. Would Kronderset's method generate the same result? In this case, no. Sometimes yes, but in this case, no. So in the interest of time, I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but we would next put D versus A. D wins 2-1. Then I would do D versus B. And I would get B winning 2-1. Which means C beats A. A beats B. D beats C. And B beats D. So in the reality, everybody won something and everybody lost a head-to-head, which means this is a Kronderset's paradox. No winner. So using Kronderset's method, we would see that We don't have a winner. Okay, let's do another sequential pairwise voting. I'm only making one change. This is the exact same problem. I'm changing the agenda, which means I'm changing the order in which we do head-to-head matchups. So the first two in our agenda is D and C. So I'm going to do D versus C. And I see that D wins 2-1. Feel free to pause the video if you need time to actually sit down and analyze that. Make sure you know what you're doing. So what that means is C is out. We are done with C. Our win is E versus is B. I see that B wins 2-1. Which means D is out. Our winner moves on, B, to face the next person on our agenda, which is A. And I see that A wins 2-1. So A wins because we are out of people in the agenda and out of candidates. If I'm person D, I'm probably saying this isn't fair. Or if I'm person B, I'm probably saying this isn't fair. In this method, you want to be later in the agenda. You want to only have to beat one or two people instead of having to beat everybody because it goes in steps. Winner moves on, loser is out, loser goes home. So, and that's why it's different from the Kronstadt method, because we don't take the winner of each round and check them against every other candidate. Okay, next method of voting is called the Hare system. Named after Thomas Hare. And this is a situation of we remove the candidate with the fewest first place votes. And we just keep repeating that process until we ultimately have a winner. Now, sometimes here we'll have a tie. Not often, but it is possible to get a tie here. So I'm only looking at the first place votes of the candidates. So I have A, B, and C. Using the number of votes here, I see A has 5 votes plus one more first place vote, so that's 6. B has 3 first place votes, and C has 4 first place votes. Who's in last? That's B, so B is out. And what I do is I cross out all the B's. B is out, which means I'm left with A and C. And I look at the first place votes between A and C. A has 5 votes here. Oh, here's probably the visual thing that's going to mess us up. This now becomes a first place situation because that is the highest remaining candidate on those ballots. So we need to keep that in mind. That might be confusing visually. So actually, let me do it this way. Just for keeping. A was 5 plus 1, which is 6. C was 4. B was B was 3, C was 4. Now I see A with 5 plus 1, which is 6. C has 4 here, but they also have 3 here because they're the highest remaining. So again, my lowest number is out. So C is the only one remaining. Does the Hare system meet the CWC? If you need a refresher on the CWC, it's at the very beginning of this method, the Krondershitz winner criterion. And that basically means, am I going to get the same winner if I use Condorcet's method. So using Condorcet's method, we'll start with A versus B. We know that with Condorcet's method, it doesn't really matter who we start with. So A beats B in 5 votes in the first column. B wins 4 votes from the second column. B wins 3 more votes from the third column. A wins a vote from the last column. B wins 7 of 6. Now I will do B versus C. In the first column, B wins 5 votes. In the second column, C wins 4 votes. The third column, B wins 3 votes. And the fourth column, B wins 1 vote. So that's 9-4, B wins. So B ended up beating everybody head to head, which means B wins. So does this Hare system meet the CWC? It does not, because using the Hare system, C was our winner, but using Condorcet's method, a different method of voting, B wins. So because they're different winners, my apologies, folks, I might have something wrong here. Never mind. Because different winners, one using Condorcet's method, one using the Hare system, we'll say the CWC not met. So because there's different winners, the CWC is not met. In addition to that, the Hare system fails to satisfy monotonality. And remember, we covered monotonality in the last video. The very brief description of it is, if I take my winning candidate and I give them more votes, I give some votes from the loser to the winner, then the winner should just win by more, right? That's what you would think. Let's take a look. So we are going to use the Hare system. So I have candidate W, candidate X, candidate Y, candidate Z. Candidate W here has 9 first place votes. Candidate X has 6 first place votes. Candidate Y has 4 plus 2, that's 6 first place votes. And candidate Z has 5 first place votes. Who's in last? Z, so Z is out. So we'll go again with just W, X, and Y. W has 9 first place votes. X now has 6 first place votes plus the 5 first place votes from this here, because they're the highest ranking candidate left in that column. So that's 11. And Y has 4 plus 2, which is 6. So candidate Y is out. So now we'll go again with just WX. W has 9 first place votes. X has 6 plus 5 plus 4 plus 2. So that's obviously more than 9. That comes out to actually 17. So W is out. Last man standing is X, so X wins. So that's how we work the Hare system. And again, the issue is monotonality. What do we think should happen if I took some votes from Y and gave them to X? You think if I took some votes out of loser Y and gave them to winner X, X would just win by more. That's the logical way of thinking. Obviously, since I'm teaching it, that's not the way this happens. So I'm going to keep everything exactly the same. The only thing I'm changing here is X and Y. I'm giving X more votes. I'm giving X 2 more votes over Y. Let's run this again. So I have W, X, Y, and Z. W has 9 votes. X has 6 plus 2 votes, so that's 8. Y has 4 votes, and Z has 5 votes. And so the loser is Y, who is now out. So I'm left with W, X, and Z. W is here with 9. X is here with plus 2, which is 8. And Z is 5 plus 4, which is 9. Look at that. Our winner, X, is now out after I gave him more votes. That's the problem with this method. I could give the winner more votes like I did here. I gave X more votes. And somehow that costing this this election. Now X is no longer the winner. By the way, yes, this has real life implications if you're following along in your notes. Australia, Malta, Republic of Ireland, and Northern Ireland. This is actually how they pick their leaders. So now I have W and Z just to finish this out. W ends up with, we cross out our X's. And so W is left with 9 votes. Z has 6 plus 5 plus 4 plus 2, which is 17, which means W is out, which means Z wins. So my apologies for the notes are hard to read. So that's our 5th voting method. One more for this video. This one is called the plurality runoff method. And what happens is there's a runoff between using the same preference schedule. Oh, sorry. So earlier in this video, I said, when you hear plurality, you think first place only. Plurality means first place. So here's how this is going to work. We are going to count up the first place votes. And I want I want to see who has the most votes and whoever is tied for the second most votes. So I have candidates A, B, C, D, E. Candidate A has 4 first place votes. Candidate B has 3. Candidate C has 3, candidate D has 2, and candidate E has 1. That's step 1, count the first place votes. Now I want the top 2 plus ties. So what do I see? Place? B and C tied for second place. A is first, B, C tied for second. What that means is D and E are out. So I'll cross them out. And now I'm going to count up just A, B, and C. B and C, normally we would just do the top 2, but because there's a tie for second, that's why we're having 3. But again, normally it's just the top 2. So candidate A here has 4 votes. B has 3 plus 2, so that's 5. And C has 3 plus 1, which is 4. So B here is my winner. So that's it for this section. All 6 voting methods that we covered in this section. Again, these are chunked down to get through a couple days of class. Please jump around this video to cover just the method of voting that you need help on.